Right. Okay. So we are moving from understanding risks today to managing it in a structured way using the risk register. So in previous session, we had discussed why projects fail and how environmental and social risk affect bankability of a project, and how we should manage it. We had that discussion in the previous episode, which is episode 3. So in the session today, we will focus on one of the most important tools that is used by lenders and project developers, and that is the risk register, RR. We usually code it with double R, RR, because if risks are not documented in a register, they are not managed. And if they are not managed, the project is not bankable. You know, our focus is on bankability of projects. So in this session, we will cover what a risk register is, why lenders require it, the key components of a strong risk register, and how to develop one, and how it directly supports project financing or not. And then the objective for today is actually to move from understanding the risks to managing the risks effectively. And the RR, risk register, is one of the codes, one of the instruments that we use for such management. And if time permits us, I will show us a live example of the newest risk register that we have in Richflood, and there you will see all the components, and I think that will help for proper understanding. So a risk register is a structured document. A structured document that identifies the risk, assesses the risk, and also track every single important risk in a project. You know, I had mentioned to you earlier, in the previous episode, that I was in a meeting with Germans, and the only reason they had me there was to tell them the risk associated with the project. They want to know the E&S risk that is associated with the project. And this will include also health and safety, and also regulatory risk, and risks that also emanates from operational activities, which we call the operational risk. And the risk register also shows the likelihood of each risk occurring, the impact it could have, and the measures that can be taken to reduce such impact. So I will show us inherent risk and then residual risk. The inherent risk and then residual risk, maybe when we get there. So the risk register is always a living document that evolves as the project progresses. It's not a one-off document that is prepared and then dumped on a shelf. No, it is a document that is living. What do I mean? It continuously gets updated, continuously gets reviewed, and continuously supports decision-making and reduce uncertainty. Without a risk register for a project, a lender cannot review, cannot access the level of risks it is exposing itself to, or herself to, or himself, or the bank. A lender cannot do a proper assessment if the level of risk is not known. So a project must have a risk register so that financing becomes less difficult and easy. What are the types of risk? A risk register captures different categories of risk. I'll show us in a moment. They include environmental risk and social risks. Environmental, we talk about pollution. Social risks, we talk about the community issues, the occupational health issues, the safety risks issues, the regulatory risks issues, and operational risks. So each category must be clearly identified and managed, and how it will be managed should also reflect, and what the status of the risks is after management must also reflect in the risks register. So what are the core components of a risks register? A clear description of each risk. It must be clearly described. The category of the risk, the likelihood of occurrence, the potential impact of the risk, the mitigation measures, the assigned responsibility, who is responsible for managing these risks, and if the risk is not managed, what gets to happen? But when it is managed, what is the outcome? And also, it has to show the current status of the risks at the time of review. All of these elements ensure that the risks are not just identified, but they are actively managed throughout the project lifecycle. Now, there is what we call the risk rating. We rate the risk. If risks can be low risk, medium risk, high risk, and in fact, let me add one more, critical risk, that is above high. So the classification is based on the likelihood of occurrence of that risk and the severity of impact that risk will have on either the people, the environment, the staff, the immediate environment, or regulatory issues. It will give us the severity. And lenders use this classification to determine whether a project is acceptable for financing, whether the project is high-risk project or low-risk project, or even if it's high-risk project, does it require strong mitigation before funding can be can proceed. So next, let's look at environmental risk examples. It includes air emissions. It can be dangerous air emissions. It can be water contamination. We have some cases ongoing in some community where the river is being contaminated and the governor is calling a meeting and they're setting up a committee to tackle the issue, and the proponent, the project owner, is worried. The funding partners, of course, will be worried. And, it leads to failures. When waste is poorly managed, when tailings are poorly managed, when chemicals are poorly managed and they find their way to water bodies, it becomes a serious concern environmentally and can lead to project closure if not properly and timeously managed. So these risks must be clearly identified and controlled through structured plans and monitoring. Let's move forward to social risk. As I mentioned earlier, community disputes, community conflict, land ownership issues constitute social risk, and health and safety concerns of the nearby communities constitute social risks. So if the facility is having some form of environmental emissions that affects the communities, it moves from environmental risk to social risk, and then it could have some more cumulative impact on the existence of the project. So this risk can significantly affect operation, and that it could also get to a level where the funders or the lenders would say, wait a minute, what are we doing here? Why is this giving us a bad name? They don't want that. Nobody wants that. So how do we develop a risk register? It involves first identifying the risk and assessing the likelihood. Is this risk likely to occur or not? And if it occurs, what is the impact? And it defines clearly the mitigation measures and assigns responsibilities. So this process must be systematic and must be reviewed more often within the organization, and it must be based on real project conditions. It's not based on assumptions. Initially, we could say, okay, this activity will lead to this impact by assumption or by prediction. But as soon as the project commences, it moves from such assumptions to reality. And that is why it is a living document. So let's move to mitigation planning. It involves preventive actions to avoid the risk from happening in the first instance. And if it must happen by virtue of the operation, how do you reduce the impact? Or what are the corrective actions that will address such issues when they occur? Monitoring and regular review is necessary to ensure that risks remain under control. The responsible party must be on the lookout, watching, ensuring that the risks are under control when they occur, or when they are about to occur. The responsible party must be ready to address them head on. Now, let's link the ESG, let's link risks register to ESG systems. In episode 2, I believe, the risks register appeared in our ESG structure, ESG system, that complex system that I showed us. By the way, all of the episodes are on our YouTube channel. It supports environmental and social management systems as well. The risks register is a part of a system. It fits into the action plan developed for certain aspects. It could be air quality management action plan or climate action plan, climate change and mitigation action plan. It fits perfectly into it, and it supports monitoring and compliance. It is central to ESG implementation as well. So let me quickly talk about the common mistakes that we all should avoid. It includes having a generic risks assessment or risks register. When it is generic, it's not project specific, it is copy and pasted from software. It will lack the implementability, if there is such in English. You are unable to implement the risks register when it is generic, when it is not project-based, when it is not project-specific, activity-specific, environmental aspect-specific. It will lack the data that is project-specific, and it will not be deployable on the project. Another risk is, another common mistake is when the responsible party is not assigned or the responsible party is unaware. So normally when we have a risks register, we ensure to have the responsible parties in a room. We go through the risks register together. We confirm understanding so that we are sure that someone is watching, someone is responsible, and someone will take action when there is need for that action. And another mistake we make is failure to update the register. When it is developed and we put it in a folder on our system, or if you print it out and you hang it on the shelf, but it's not updated, that's a mistake. It will not be a living document as I earlier established. And not if it is linking to the operation, it is a weakness. It reduces the effectiveness of the risks register. Richflood supports our clients to identify such risks early in the life cycle of the project, during project planning, during project pre-financing. We identify the risks together, we develop the risks register, we review, we train, and then we integrate them into the management system of the operation, and we establish monitoring processes and we follow up. Mostly on retainers, we follow up to ensure that the risks register is properly implemented, it is being updated, it is useful throughout the project life cycle. So I'll quickly now share my screen with you to show us an example, a typical example of a risks register. Okay, so here is a risks register developed for an ongoing project here at Richflood. And you can see this is actually a project that is about the manufacturing of bombs. Let me put it that way. Ammonium nitrate. So let's say it's for the manufacturing of bombs, right? So if you're going to be manufacturing bombs, I believe all of you in the room, your mind is running like, yeah, bombs, yes. So there are risks associated with every phase of the project. And what we did here is to group the risk. You can see here, group 1, regulatory, permitting, and IFC compliance risks. So this risk is funded by the International Finance Corporation. And you can see in the group 1, the comment that is made here says risks related to statutory approvals, permits, obligations, regulatory conditions, IFC performance standards alignment, lender requirements, and overall compliance governance. So this is the risks, and you can see what have I done? Okay, undo that. Okay, I wanted to show us, the phases. This is construction, pre-construction phase, construction phase, operation phase, all phases. Some risks relate to all phases, and you can see they have the risk ID is here. The risk ID is here. From risk 1 to risk 15 is under the group 1, which is the regulatory permitting and IFC compliance standard. Taking us through this particular row, you have the risk group. Yeah, we have the phase, we have the particular IFC performance standard because the lender is IFC. So they have performance standard. Even if it's African Development Bank, sometimes we use the IFC performance standard because in hierarchy, it ranks high. In standard, in general acceptability globally, it ranks very high. So we use that. And then next, you have the risk description. And let me see the comment here, specific risks or event or condition being assessed, the risk description, then the cause, what will cause or what will trigger this risk? What is going to trigger this risk? Then we have the potential impact. What is the potential impact? What are the consequences if this risk happens? And then we have the inherent the grading system. If you go over here, yes, you will see the grading system here. The rating 1 to 5 is low risk, is green. 6 to 10 is medium risk. 11 to 15 is high risk. 16 to 25 is critical risk. So L is the likelihood of it to happen, and severity is S. So back to this inherent. Sorry, where are we? Yes, the inherent risks, the likelihood of the inherent risks to happen is this. And then the likelihood of the severity. This is the rating in numbers. And then the rating is calculated as inherent likelihood by inherent severity. Don't worry about the calculation. What we want to make sure happens is that when it has been flagged, the consultant does the work to give you this calculation, and then yours is to know what is the trigger for the risk. If the trigger can be ameliorated completely, then we say, okay, the risk can be reduced, but if it cannot, then what is the potential impact if it happens? What is the inherent risk, and what is an inherent risk? This is risk before mitigation or control measures are applied. Before you mitigate the risk will be high, but after you have mitigated, after you have taken action, the risk could become low. There's no time, so I have to run. So you can see the inherent risk, high, medium, across all the groups. I've not showed us all the groups yet, but that's it. And then the mitigation control measures for that risk. And then we come back and check the residual risk. The residual risk. And what is residual risk? Residual risk is the risk after the proposed mitigation, after the control measures have been implemented, after monitoring. That is residual risk. After implementation of the mitigation measure, that is residual risk. So if you can see very well from here, you can see that the inherent risk was very high, but going now, after mitigation, it becomes very low, and some remain medium, from record high to medium after mitigation. And who is the responsible party here? So you can see some is the Richflood that is responsible. Some, it is the EPC contractor that is responsible. Some is the operator management that is responsible. And this responsibility part, this is at the inception of the project. So it was not properly, this is expanded later on. That's what I meant. This gets expanded with even specifics of names of people, specific office that handles the risks. These are people responsible for ensuring that the mitigation measure is implemented, it is monitored, it is documented, and it is reported. Let me quickly take us through the group in 1 minute, then I can listen to questions from you. So we have the group 1, regulatory risk. We have the group 2 here, land site, access and stakeholders risk. Yeah, land site access and stakeholders risks. And then the group 3 over here, we have construction phase and environmental and social risk. Okay, this is a risk arising from construction activities that may affect air quality, that may affect water quality, and that may affect the biodiversity, the communities, the traffic, and so on and so forth. So we have the construction phase, occupational health and safety, OHS risk, and that is it here. And then we have the operational environmental risk. Yeah, construction environmental risk is different from operational environmental risk. This is highlighted here. Then we have the group, the process safety and major hazard risk. For risk analysis, we don't make the mistake to copy all these and then we merge and center and the way you normally do for Excel sheet. No, it doesn't happen that way because there could be data cleaning, there could be categorization, there could be some assessment. We always run assessment using an Excel sheet, and that is why the risk is on Excel sheet. There are calculations that we do. There is a lot of statistical arrangement that is being done. That is why we don't do that. Then you have group 7, community and health, safety and social, and security risk. Security risk, community health, and security risk. Yeah. Then we have the decommissioning. Yes, when you are decommissioning, there is risks associated with that. Life cycle risk associated with plant closure, dismantling the plant, residual contamination, hazardous materials removal from the site restoration, the post-closure monitoring, the financial provision, and long-term environmental and social liabilities is what we categorize as the decommissioning risks. You can see one risk here that is critical. Let me just take that quickly. And please prepare your questions. NOx emissions. This is nitric oxide, gaseous emission exceeding regulatory or lending guidelines. What would trigger this? Inefficiency in nitric acid oxidation process, inadequate tail gas treatment, poor combustion control or weak monitoring. If this gas leaks to the community, it is an issue. There will be what is the potential impact: air pollution, regulatory breach, community protest, community concern, reputational damage, possible operational stop work immediately. This is ranked high. You can see it has 20 cumulative inherent rating. And then this is another critical explosion. When there is an explosion, since you're producing a bomb, what if there is an explosion and the whole community, or there is fire? These are critical risks. And that makes me stop talking. We have just 5 minutes now. So I'll listen to you. Thank you. Any questions, please? I hope I wasn't talking too fast. Yes, you can unmute yourself and speak if you have a question. Is Adam, please proceed, sir.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Prof, for that very enlightening discussion, which is, for me, an eye-opener. And I remain gratitude for you for introducing these courses. It appears that this 30 minutes stuff will not be able to give us the stuff we will need. How would a person like me will have access to a fuller package of the training so that one can be abreast of the things, real-time stuff like that? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, we usually run training at Richflood that are paid, but this one is conceptualized to be holding every 2 weeks. Because we felt that beyond the payments, we should have some value addition for people like you, sir, and to be able to have, most especially those who are already our clients, whom we really want them to be in a room all the time to listen to these training sessions. So we have customized arrangements that can be made for you, sir, you and your team. We can have an arrangement to look at your operation, your project, and the level which it is, and what specific intervention or specific training that you require. So that can be arranged separately. But for the this training is 30 minutes, and on a Monday morning for that matter, so that we can just keep refreshing ourselves every 2 weeks. By the grace of God, we continue to have it. So I think we can chat maybe later. Mr. Kizito, can you put on the screen the barcode for attendance? We introduced a new attendance register as well, because we have some people asking us that they want certification. So certification is after, I think, five attendance also, and a certificate of participation, a certificate of attendance. I don't know how they put it. So I hope I answered your question, sir. It's because this is a free training and not having that rigorous length of time that is needed. Thank you. Any other question, please? Or comment? We have 2 minutes. Okay. So on that note, we have a registration link. Maybe the support in the office is not able to pull it out, but we have a registration link that's...
Sorry, but the link is not responding. It took me to a website and where I was prompted that the webinar had ended.
Okay, yes, we open it only during this meeting. So as we turn off the meeting, it's going to come back on, please. It's going to come back on for like 30 minutes and then it will go off. Sorry about that. Then Secretariat, please, Mr. Kizito, always put it on at the beginning of the meeting so that we can have people register during the meeting, and then we can turn it off after the meeting. So please, you can copy the link and keep somewhere so that if we end the meeting, you can now check. I think at the back end, they are working to open it up. All right. So we are meeting in 2 weeks' time again with another episode. I don't know what the lineup is, but you will get the email reminder to see the episode title. Mr. Kizito, do you have it? The episode title for the next? Mrs. Sajiboye, if that is you, hello. Hello. Good to see you. All right. So thank you everyone for joining, and see you by next 2 weeks again, same time, same link, same place on Zoom. Thank you and have a great week ahead. Bye-bye.